The way to build wealth in this country, and there's no question about it, is to keep your money away from the government. And you're going to follow my general rules of life. Sort of like you don't cook bacon while you're naked. It's that important. Remember, if you have a plan, you have more money for you now, more for retirement, and plenty more for your loved ones. And most of that can be tax-free, so you can enjoy your money.
Americans have an estimated $16 trillion in tax-deferred savings, including IRAs and 401ks. And the IRS is waiting to grab up to 90% of your hard-earned cash. Ed Slott will show you how to protect it. The Wall Street Journal called Ed Slott the best source of IRA advice. And USA Today said it would be tough to find anyone who knows more about IRAs than CPA Slott. Ed Slott is recognized as the leading expert about tax-deferred savings and is on a mission to help you and your family keep all the money you've worked so hard to accumulate in Stay Rich Forever and Ever. Now, here's Ed Slott.
Okay, thank you and welcome everyone. Well, what's more fun than spending time with a CPA talking about taxes? Well, I'll tell you, it's the taxes that will determine how much fun you're really going to have with your life savings, your retirement money. That's what we're talking about today. When I use the term IRA, which I'll be using quite a bit today, I'm using that as an umbrella term. So when I say IRA, that means all your retirement money. So it's your 401k, your 403b, your company pension plan, all of that tax-deferred money. So what is tax-deferred? Well, that's easy. That's kind of like your deal with the devil. And as with any deal with the devil, there's a day of what? Reckoning. And they have a name for that date. It's called your required beginning date. That's the date that our government has decided that they're just sick and tired of waiting for you to drop dead and they want their money back. That was always the case. That's the income tax. This money's also subject to estate taxes. This is highly taxed money. But here's the thing. Who's going to get that money? Do you ever have those dreams? Sitting around thinking, well, I've worked my whole life. Now I want to enjoy it. Who do you envision when you think about those days, spending your money? I'll tell you who you're all thinking about, because I know. Uncle Sam. Well, that's who's going to get your money, because Uncle Sam has a plan and you don't, and the one with the plan wins. That's what we're talking about today on today's program, creating a plan so you can have more money for you today, more money for your retirement, and more money for your loved ones, and more of it tax-free. And anybody can do it, and that's what we're going to show you in this program. But you need a plan, what I call an exit strategy. You put the money in, do you have a plan to get it out? Because it's the way you take it out that will determine how much you keep and how much goes to the government. Most people have no plan. And we have a bad situation in this country. Remember, taxes right now are very low. I know nobody will ever say that, but taxes are very low. This may be the lowest tax rates you'll ever see. But we're hitting a perfect storm of financial disaster that are going to sink a lot of boats. I call it the ship, S-H-I-P. And when the ship hits the fan, taxes are going to go through the roof. What do I mean by the ship? S, Social Security. H, health care. I, income tax. Taxes have to go up. P, pensions. Somebody's got to pay for all of this. Who do you think it's going to be? You and me. I call this new economy we're entering a yo-yo economy. Y-O, Y-O. You're on your own. Businesses are out. They don't have pensions anymore. Look at the headlines. Look at this piece from the cover of the paper. These are not stories in the back of the paper. Traditional pensions are almost gone. Is employer-provided health insurance next? Look at this one. This you may have seen. The first baby boomer came to collect. Here's the first baby boomer. First baby boomer came to collect Social Security. There are 78 million people online behind her. Who's going to pay for this? It's going to come from taxes. Taxes are going to have to be increased. Look at this piece. Federal finances a mess. This is a story about the top accountant in the country who won't even sign our government's financial statements. He says our government has made a whole lot of promises that in the long run it cannot possibly keep without huge tax increases. So what does that mean? That means Congress is going to have to raise this money. And they know one thing about raising money. They know one thing about taxes, and they learned this from the feudal system. The best people to tax are dead people. They don't vote, they don't complain, and they don't write letters to their congressmen. Which dead people do you think Congress is most interested in? That's right, rich, dead people. They're not interested in poor people. They're horrible customers. They say they like poor people, but they don't really like them. Which rich, dead people do you think our Congress is most interested in? The rich, dead people that have the most money that has not yet been taxed. We're all in the soup. We all did everything right because our tax system is a penalty on savers. That doesn't sound fair. We put money in IRAs, in 401ks, in company plans. We did everything right, but that money hasn't been taxed yet. Now the government has the advantage of being able to change the rates at the end of the game when we reach our hands in there to collect. That doesn't seem fair. And if you're wondering, how high can taxes get? Well, I'll give you a little history lesson. It wasn't that many years ago, in the early 80s, the top federal tax bracket was 70%. But even a few years after that, the combined tax on retirement accounts, estate and income tax, was 95%. 55% estate tax and 40% income tax. 95%. And even at that time, can you imagine Congress sitting around saying 95% tax on retirement accounts? We're just leaving people with too much of their own money. And they went and created a third tax on top of the already existing 95%, a 15% excise tax. We used to call it the success tax, the excess accumulations tax. Another 15% on top of the already existing 95%. This went on until about 1995 when one sorry beneficiary inherited a large IRA and got hit with all three taxes, what I call the trifecta of taxation. His combined rate was 103%. In other words, he was a negative beneficiary. They wanted him to kick in. And he said, but I don't even know the guy. And they said, but he's your father. And he went to tax court in one of the biggest taxpayer-friendly landmark rulings of all time. In that case, the judge said to the IRS, no longer can the IRS take more than 100% of what a person has. Thank you very much. It's a nutty system. But we have to take the position, when we do our planning, that there will be taxes, estate taxes, income taxes, because we know the government needs the money. So we have to create a plan, because if you don't create a plan, you get the government plan. That's how the government gets all their money, from people doing nothing. We can create a plan where you can end up with more for you now, more for your retirement, and more for your family, and most of it tax-free, and in some cases, all of it tax-free.